É tão engraçado lembrar que foi você mesma que veio dia me procurar. E não é nada fácil eu agora me acostumar a não te ver, a não te ter e não poder te beijar. Sinto saudades, mas...
God, I love garbage. Ghost Rider 2007 is a time capsule for comic book cinema. A benchmark for the point in history where CGI wasn't quite out of the VeggieTales era, but right before we hit the uncanny valley phase of CGI Hulk.
Oh my god! What's wrong with your face?
Now, when I was 10 years old, you couldn't tell me shit about this movie. The main character was a skeleton with fucking flames coming out of his head and a dope-ass leather jacket. Every 2000s era elementary and middle schooler's ultimate power fantasy put to the big screen, with none other than the man, the myth, the legend himself, Nicolas Cage. Hey, I know that guy, I hear you saying to yourself. Isn't he the one with the weird childhood? Yeah, that's him. He looks so young in this flick. Like, damn. This must have been right before those gambling debts started to catch up to him. An era that must be truly witnessed to be believed. These days, mostly you see him in these, like, niche independent flicks. But back in the day, man, good old Nick Cage had us all fooled. He had us all fooled into thinking he was a blockbuster level actor. Again, it was truly a different time for cinema. We didn't know any better. I gotta say, going into this, I thought it was gonna be a total schlock fest from beginning to end, but I was pleasantly surprised. With some scenes, upon a second viewing into my adulthood, this movie reminded me of why I consider it a timeless banger in the first place. But if I'm keeping it a stack, Sam Elliott almost completely carries this movie on his back. And if you don't agree with that, I'll at least say he sets the tone quite well.
The thing about legends is, sometimes they're true.
Oh, baby!
He's narrating the movie they actually wanted to make. This narration feels like part of the vision. Then you see some other scenes after that, and it almost erodes the vision completely, but thank God they had the budget to keep him in at least every act of the movie. Lord knows he didn't want to show up in it more than necessary. We immediately get an opening monologue from him about the OG Ghost Rider, and how he made a pact with Satan, or, Mephistopheles.
What's wrong with your face?
And San Baganza for his soul, or something like that. And how he immediately hightails it out of town and, fucks off now that he has his badass new Ghost Rider powers. And the townspeople die or some shit like that. It's not really that important in the overall story. It's more there to set up something for later on in the movie, which kind of pays off, but we'll get there. Just take it easy, man. I do like how it feels like an old fable or a parable of sorts. That could just be a result of Sam Elliott's juicy inflection.
Nah, shucks, I don't know if I could do that.
This movie is quick to treat us to some of its magical special effects. I swear that little fast forward speed up things in movies that you see always ends up looking like shit. I don't know why they do it, even back then. I'll give this flick a pass because, it was in 2007, but movies like Age of Ultron had no excuse.
What kind of amateur shit is that?
After all is said, we're finally brought to our main man, Johnny Blaze, our boy JB. And, he's out there looking fly, flexion for those carny folk, and his dad says, "No, Johnny, that's not what being a performer is all about. A daredevil performer." Like, seriously, it never made sense to me why Blaze gets mad at Johnny for showboating. They're daredevils. Their whole spiel is based on showboating and being foolhardy. This man does an extra wheelie during the show and you're upset? That's how you're eating tonight. You just jumped over flames in a shitty motorcycle. What's your deal? All that aside, I really like that shot of them just like laying down, working on their bikes. I'm not sure what it represents from a cinematography perspective, but I just think it's cute. Shortly after, we have our main antagonist, Mephistopheles, the devil. You can tell he's the devil because he's standing under a picture of him. He pulls up on JB acting like a straight up weirdo, which sets off no alarms for Johnny Blaze, I guess. I guess he sees weirder people traveling with the circus, which, I'll give it a pass. He immediately tells Johnny that he wants to make a deal to help cure his father's cancer. Oh, by the way, Johnny's dad has cancer, and he does not hesitate dropping that bomb on his son, being his only family and all. So yeah, that's obviously something Johnny is immediately going to go along with. The deal is signed in blood, and Satan just kills Johnny's dad anyway the next day because he's an asshole. He's like, well, I promised the cancer wouldn't go get him, but, I didn't say anything else wouldn't. I'm just like, dude, you could have just at least like waited like a month, throw your scent off the trail, like whatever, I guess, just do whatever, bud. You probably would have gotten a more loyal rider out of Johnny in the end had you not like decided to completely screw him over. But you know what?
Fuck it though, bro. It's your life.
So Johnny's dad is dead, and due to that he decides to leave young Ava Mendez out in the pouring rain. See, before the devilish deal, Johnny and Roxy decide to run away together instead of her moving away with her parents because, you know, Roxy's dad thinks Johnny is a good-for-nothing carny, and I mean, you know, kind of right. But as we know, things happened with Johnny, and ultimately he decides otherwise. The part I'm having trouble understanding is why would he deliberately pull up to a spot and drive off without saying a word? Like, what, bro? Why even show up in the first place? You couldn't just, like, page her or maybe give her a ride home to explain the situation? Damn. Your dad was right about you, Johnny. On a side note, I do like how Johnny's dad looks up to the sky before this, when his son asks for his blessings to run away with Roxy, almost symbolizing his faith in his son despite his rough exterior. Oh, and also this movie is very religious, which isn't a problem, but it always feels like it's trying to like subtly push that message, and I don't understand why. Whatever, dude, this is a movie where like Satan is the main antagonist. I don't know what I expected. The match cut was admittedly pretty cool transition also. Anyways, we transition into modern day JB. He's a huge success now. This ain't your granddad's Johnny Blaze, ladies and gentlemen.
Going to hell.
Spooky Man does something in a bar, I don't know, who cares, there's a few parts like this, but just sit tight. JB has a very sick pad. I'm calling him JB now. Get down or lay down, nerds. Mac talks about how crazy that last stunt on the anniversary of old Pappy Ghost Rider was. Nonetheless, JB, just being JB, wants to ignore it and watch his primate programs, which is like a weird thing he enjoys in this particular movie. JB once again tells him to fuck off, but I can't help but feel like you'd be less miserable if you opened up Johnny. But I understand if you're going through a lot, so I'll back off this time, but I don't want this to become a trend. We cut to some Proud Boys doing what they do best. Having a good time. This hilarious transition to JB in the mirror. Also, what's the deal with the cane in the shades? I thought I was watching Daredevil for a second, which thank God I'm not. This whole sequence feels like Nick Cage for some reason. I can't really put my finger on why. It's just got a very palpable Nick Cage energy. Johnny Blaze don't do interviews. Why not? Probably because he's unstable? I don't fucking know. This pan is hilarious. Also, why would they have hurt her? There's like a crowd of people. Anyways, some stuff happens and JD gets his date with Ava Mendez after almost killing himself in traffic and coercing her into do it. Classic gentlemanly move. Finally, we get to see what we really came for. Some Ghost Rider action, baby. But not before we get a speech from Satan. Eva Mendez pulls out a magic 8-ball at dinner because that's what we used to do before smartphones, kids. Now this is what I came to see. If the movie was like 90% this, like the Game Boy Advance release, the dude working the tracks always geeks me because he doesn't play it hammy at all. He's like genuinely frightened. Wes Bentley and his group of douchebags, Gressel, Wallow, and Abigor. I hate the way Abigor looks. His whole swag is throwing me off. Anyways, we get our first fight. They jump my man GR. I'm calling him GR now, deal with it. Now, this initial jumping is a good idea. It has real stakes, but after they hit GR with the car, everyone just kinda like dips. They're like all in a day's work. And Gressel, giving Ghost Rider ample opportunity to get up and get his lick back. Upon doing so, old dude gets clocked and starts begging for mercy.
No mercy. Sorry. All out of mercy.
Excuse me, sir? Aren't you supposed to be like a powerful demon or something? You just get hit once and give up? Well shit, maybe I could be a demon slayer if this is what the ops are out here looking like. So after he kills this guy, he goes out to kill a purse snatcher with a penance stare. A tad extreme, but pretty cool ability that gives those who witness it trypophobia.
Oh my God!
So after a long night of killing in cold blood, JB crawls back to his dad's grave and Sam Elliott spits on him or something.
Horned bonehead.
He tells him of his spooky Ghost Rider origins and patches him up to be on his way. Pretty cool exchange at the end of this part too.
What'd you get in return?
Heartache.
I'm telling you, man, this movie has its moments. It just pulls you back. And I gotta say, after watching it a couple more times as an adult, Ghost Rider feels like the bones, no pun intended, for the MCU style of, like, directing. It has it all. Quippy jokes.
Any man attempted such a death-defying stunt?
I took the cars out.
Shirtless protagonist, crazy CGI, a half-baked sense of self-awareness. It's all there, but this movie also feels like its predecessors. Movies like Catwoman and Daredevil, which, might I add, was also directed by Mark as well. It's like Mark Steven Johnson walked so that Joss Whedon and the Russo brothers could fly. It's truly fascinating. Anyways, we cut back to Johnny's crib and he's reading some ancient tomes that he got from somewhere. I'm assuming Sam Elliott gave them to him off screen or he swiped them from the, burial site. After some Hellfire hijinks, Eva Mendes comes up and apologizes for absolutely laying into Johnny earlier. Like, she did not hold back. Shawty went the fuck off on him. She was pissed.
Dad was right. You're just a phase.
But she's over that now and she wants her spooky bad boy back. I think that's a sentiment we can all relate to. So naturally they engage in probably the worst kissing scene I've ever seen in my entire existence. But while he enjoys it, I think JB is hesitant. An old Roxy girl wants to know what's up. So she tells Johnny that she can confide in her, no matter how crazy it is. Johnny, please. So upon hearing this, Johnny tells her the objective truth. And she calls him batshit and fucking dipsets. Not long after, Johnny gets arrested and interviewed by Starsky and Hutch over here. Jesus Christ, super cops. They're like the cops from the other guys.
You thinking what I'm thinking, partner? Aim for the bushes.
Needless to say, they couldn't crack him. Naturally, they throw JB in a cell, and rightfully so, because he did kill a guy earlier. I don't know why he's acting like he didn't. I mean, I get if he didn't do these murders, but if this guy is anything less than dead, then let me know. He gets jumped by a group of psychopaths and goes sicko mode. Finally, we get to my favorite part of the movie. The part where Ghost Rider finally kills this scary movie for Anthony Anderson, Terrence Howard on the last season of Empire looking boy the fuck up out of here. He basically just sat there and let himself get murdered. I'm starting to notice a theme here. GR rides down this building to simp for Roxy and gets lit up. I don't know why she's in front of this like police line and they're like, oh, get ready to fire, and she's just like standing in front of all of them. This always just confused me. I don't know why they're just letting her stand there. Afterwards, Johnny ends up with Sam again and tells him that everyone knows him now, which Sam doesn't get because he exists outside the age of information. You don't have TV here? No, Johnny. This old-ass country gravedigger does not watch Good Morning America with Al Roker. The Dream Team show up at Ava's station, and that goes about as well as you can expect for these super sleuths over here. Sam Elliott bounces off of the nothing that is Cage's performance, and Ava shows up to Johnny Blaze's house again, unannounced. Upon entering this time, Mac is there, clearly in turmoil. He doesn't know if he wants to play it sincere or angry, so he does both and tells Roxy that she's nothing but a dirty 2-bit harlot. But then he comes to his senses and shows her Johnny's weird-ass Ghost Rider Necronomicon. Alright, we finally moseyed our way to the final quarter of this fabulous adventure. And honestly, I'm just so tired, I'm just gonna cliff notes my way through the rest. Okay. Old Sammy gets jumped in the cemetery by this gooner and ultimately gets stomped out, but not before he completely sells out JB's love interest Roxy to Satan.
The girl.
You heard her, he'll be there like lightning before the storm.
What the hell, bro? Like, why would you say that? Just say he doesn't care nothing about that 2-bit harlot and spit on the ground. Barton Blaze would have absolutely nailed this. God rest his soul. We move back to Roxy and Mac. Mac gets killed and Roxy almost gets killed. Johnny swoops in, can barely be bothered to give a shit that his best friend is a corpse.
Mac.
He gets surprised by a guy who's basically standing there in the middle of his place. GR gets a beating and has Roxy held for ransom. Johnny Blaze rides down to wherever he says he needs the contract of Sam MacGuffin to free the princess. Sam Elliott says, "Not without me, you're not," and turns into the original Ghost Rider. That's right, Carter Slade, which admittedly was pretty fucking awesome. They ride down to the final set piece together, and I gotta say, right here is my favorite part of the movie. I think a big reason I remember this movie the way I did for so many years had a lot to do with this part. It's just so cool. They finally make it, but before Sam takes this movie off of his back and lets the CGI do the rest, he tells GR the human can't fire, to use stealth, as if that's the best strat for him. And to really double down on the ridiculousness, throws him a shotgun, the stealthiest of all firearms. Gives a speech about God or something and rides off into the night. Alright, we're back with Douche Burns, and he remembers that he forgot to sacrifice Wallow.
You was a nut ass nigga.
So he sends him to die like his demon brothers so he can get no diffed by Ghost Rider. They tussle and surprise, surprise, Ghost Rider beats him with barely any effort at all. So here we are, the final battle. It's been a long road. Johnny Blaze comes in sneakily and gets wrecked, uses the chain and gets wrecked again. Pulls out the pump action and gets wrecked a third time. Somewhere in the middle of these consecutive beatings, Roxy suggests that they can just dip now that he has what he wanted. Huh? You think we can just dip now that the Antichrist is roaming around? What was the plan here, Roxy? Because you're not thinking this all the way through. I'm sorry to go on a tangent, but that line always bothered me. It's so dumb. As I was saying, after a few consecutive wreckings / beatings, Ghost Rider gets a shot off, which gives him time to think of a final strat. The penance stare. And all I could think while he was doing this final move was, I can't believe the main antagonist just straight up nerfed himself like that. What was even the point of getting the contract? If anything, it just became an Achilles heel. Literally no one could stop you before, not even your own father. I just don't get it. This guy's an idiot and he was beaten by a Nimrod. Go figure. Our heroes have a tender moment and limp away, but not before the devil tries to take back the Ghost Rider powers from Johnny Blaze. Talking about a deal's a deal. Bro, you basically killed my dad. That deal was voided the day after it was made. So, I will be keeping the fat powers. Thank you very much. And the devil just dips because he realizes that his request was stupid. Sam Elliott wraps up the movie with a nice little bow and the credits roll. Good God, what can I say that hasn't been said about this movie? Is it cheesy? Yes. Is there a lot of weird dialogue in it?
We were riding the gravy train on biscuit wheels around here, and then you showed up and everything went to hell. So why don't you just go back to wherever it is you came from?
Absolutely. Does Mark Steven Johnson evolve as a director beyond this movie? In a sense. It depends on your definition of evolve. This movie is a lot of things. Boring, however, is not one of them. And that's saying a lot. I'd like to think that this movie is just having fun with itself. At points it feels like it wants itself to be over, but that could just be, you know, the Formula 1 level pacing that this movie operates off of. And I for one found it enjoyable, not just from an ironic point of view, but an unironic one. It had some genuinely cool moments. So move out the way, Hulk 2008 and Iron Man, because as far as my headcanon is concerned, Ghost Rider is the first true entry in the MCU. He was just too busy to ever bother showing up again. Except in that one sequel. As always, that's just another indifferent take. Alright, see you later.